What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Reel Junkies. I am your host, Ferran, here again with my man Vito. And because we at pretty much at the end of October at this point, which is crazy, this year kind of flying by. This is like really
Man.
nuts, like too quick, man. But we want to get kind of into the Halloween spirit a little bit with the horror review. And obviously, every October we get new horror films coming in, it seems like. And this year, Black Phone 2 is probably the biggest one we've gotten, at least as far as like major Hollywood production horror movies. And I remember when I first saw the trailer to this, like, I know as a horror fan, the horror genre, you know what I'm saying, is filled with a lot of sequels that are unnecessary and are usually always not as good as the first one. And we have so many examples of that I don't need to go through all of them. But when I first saw the trailer to this, and I remember like this being a thing, after the first one, when they were considering doing a sequel, Scott Derrickson said, like, I don't want to just do a sequel just for the sake of doing it. So I'm when I first saw the trailer to this, I was like, all right, so he's supernatural now. He haunts people in their dreams. They essentially turn him into Freddy Krueger. Like that's
I was
kind of
about
what
to
I
say,
felt
I
like.
thought I seen something about this before,
Yeah,
and it was just like some regular shit.
yeah, like it just off the trailer, like because
So
I
I'm talking
love
about the first one.
the first one. No, the first Black Phone is a lot more grounded.
Yeah,
Not
that's what I thought.
it's a little supernatural because you have like dead people calling the kid over the phone, so it's a little
Oh, okay.
supernatural, right? But it's a lot more grounded than what this is. This is a lot, this is a very different setup from the first one in a lot of ways. Like to me, and I love the first Black Phone. That was a surprise from 2021. Follows Finney, who's the main character well, not necessarily the main character in this, but a key character in the second one. When he was, I want to say maybe 7 or 8 in the first movie when
13.
13? Oh wait, hold on. Am I tripping? No, it could have been. Hold on.
I'm looking at the little overview of the first one now.
Was he 13 for real? I don't know why I thought he was younger than that. No, you're right. He was 13. You're right. You're right. You're right. He was 13. You're right. You're right. I'm tripping. So Finney, who was a lot younger in the first one, I'll say that. No, yeah, because you're right. 'Cause he's 17 in the second one. So yeah, that math makes a lot more sense. Oh,
Yeah, that's crazy that you said 8 now.
yeah,
That,
no, I don't know why that. I
I
don't
thought
know.
you were about to say the nigga was like 23, 24, some shit like that.
Yeah, no. That now I don't know why that number was in my head. But so in the first film, he gets kidnapped by the grabber, who's sort of a little known like child kidnapper slash serial killer, and it gets very gruesome at points when you start to realize what he did to the other kids before Finney. But the other victims are essentially calling Kenny through a black phone in this grabber's basement, telling him like the different ways, like or the different things he has to do to get out of the situation. Basically, like, hey, he's going to leave the door open. Don't go running up there because he's going to be sitting there with a belt and he's just going to like whip you until you pass out. Like, like shit like that, basically. Like they're giving him the game on like how to maneuver through the situation he's in. And you figure out each kid got a little further along in the
Okay.
journey before the grabber finally got to him. And eventually he gets all the tools he needs to kill the grabber and he escapes. So that's how the first one is, I guess the context going into this. Spoilers for y'all who haven't seen the first one, but came out 3 years ago. So
Man, if they here to watch the second review,
hey, you're right, but still, you still got to say it because you never know. But when it comes to this one, now Finney's a lot older, and he had a younger sister in the first one, Gwen, who was like very high energy, and they hint at her having some supernatural abilities. They don't like outward say it, but they like hint in the first one. There's a scene in the first film where she's meeting with the police, and actually that's what it was. His sister was around that age in the first one, not him. So I think that's probably where I got that. That's probably where I got that age from. So Gwen is communicating with the police who are, they find out that she told one of her friends in school, like very specific details about her friend's brother who was a victim of the grabber. And like she like gives details about how like he was taken by this dude in a black van and there were black balloons. And the only people who know about the black balloons at this point were the police.
Okay.
So now they were questioning her. I'm like, well, how did you know that? Yada, yada, yada. And she essentially through the conversation says, sometimes my dreams are right. And they don't really address it too much. Like it's not a focal point of the story per se in the first one, but it's something that's hinted at. So they lean completely into it now in the second, where she's really the main character at this point. The focal point is completely on her. It is her story. She's the one that's kind of unraveling the mystery of now a different set of victims of the grabber, who were young boys at a camp in Alpine Lake, it was kind of weird. Like when they were describing the camp, like, to me,
Yeah,
so essentially, it's a Christian winter camp, like, out in the middle of nowhere.
makes
Yeah.
sense. Per
Yeah,
per
like
that's just a perfect environment for a serial killer, actually.
I'm just like, when they were describing it, I was like, "Y'all built this for a horror movie? Like, what in what world is there a winter camp?" I've never even just heard of that concept.
They got them, but, you think they usually call them retreats.
That makes more sense.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
think they usually call it a camp, 'cause
Yeah.
camps are usually long.
Yeah, this was and essentially, yeah, this was a different set. I was very confused, and they when I get into it, it's gonna make even less sense because there's actually a black phone, like a black pay phone, in the middle of this camp, just out of just
'Cause why?
nowhere. Yeah, it's just there, just in the middle of it, just because once again the script said so. And through her dreams, through Gwen's dreams, she's communicating with, we find out, is eventually a younger version of her mother through yeah, yeah, a younger version of her mother who apparently used to work at this camp. So there's more context coming with that too.
Wait, so how old is Gwen? So Gwen should be, like, 14 now.
Around there, because Finn's
Okay,
17, so she's probably
13.
somewhere around the age that Finn was in the first movie.
Like you said, yeah, she's 13, so if he
Yeah,
was 13 then and he's, 17 now, that's
yeah.
4 years. So she would be 12 if she was 18?
Probably closer to 9 then, because I would say she's probably around 13 in this,
Oh.
like, if I had to guess. I don't remember them saying her age. Well, I remember them saying Finn was 17, but I don't remember them saying her age in this one. But in this, she's, leaning into those abilities a lot more, I'll say, with, her interacting, or not necessarily interacting with the victims, but interacting with her mother, who's, giving her calls about her own visions, because her mother had these different dreams as well that would actually be right. So that's kind of where she inherited this ability from. So one
Hold on,
thing,
hold on, hold on.
yeah,
So a family full of, I don't wanna
not
say
full of.
fortune tellers. Well, I mean,
It's
2
really just
is
the
a
mom and
lot.
the daughter.
That's a
Yeah, because
lot, in
Finn is just regular
a
dude.
a family of 4?
Only a four, yes.
That's 2 is a lot. That's half the family, dog. So so
that
you
is a
telling
decent
me
amount.
2 of these people can somewhat see the future, and how long was he missing in the first one when he got kidnapped?
I don't remember the duration, but it was a minute.
That's
I don't
all I'm
remember the
saying.
time, but it was a minute.
Shit, they need to work on their powers or some shit then.
Man, I mean, a little bit. You could say that. I ain't gonna lie, because it is it is kind of more of a curse than a blessing, honestly. And you see a lot of that in this movie about how Gwen deals with the fact that she has these very shocking and gruesome visions. One thing about this movie that's maybe a little bit different from the first one is they insinuate a lot about
Okay.
what the grabber did to these kids. Sometimes they'll show you the effects of it. Like, you'll see, like, how they show like the ghost versions of people, like, kind of live, in a lot of these horror movies. Like, they'll do that with some of the kids in the first movie. This one, and they do that in the second one as well, but this one, it's not like completely graphic. Like, for those of you who've seen a horror movie, Bring Her Back, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, it's not that graphic where they're just panning, and then just giving you a still shot of like something very graphic and messed up happening to a kid, like Bring Her Back did, because that was OD. This is more showing you like 8 millimeter frames of it, but you can still clearly make out what's happening.
Yeah.
And this, like I said, there's 3 victims, and it's because they don't necessarily show everything, but you see enough. And because the victims are children, it makes those scenes very uncomfortable and very hard to watch, which I do like in my horror movies, but sometimes it's like I really could have went without seeing
You
that.
could
But
do
I
without
do
that.
feel it at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's pushing the story further about, like, I knew I came to see a movie about child serial killers. So I can't
So
go see that and then say, with these scenes. But the movie has that desired effect with those scenes. Like, those scenes have the impact they're supposed to,
I do
of
wanna
making you
say
feel
this
uncomfortable.
about that. Not just horror movies, because horror movies, it makes sense.
Yeah,
But
like,
just it feels like more and more movies are going for just gore for the sake of it. And we talked about this
yeah.
when we reviewed Sinners because I like that they when Delroy Lindo was talking about the lynching and they didn't show it, but they kind of played the overview in the background
Hmm.
the audio. I was like, okay, I like this because we don't need to see another lynching. So, like you said, like I get what you're saying, especially with how bad it is now. But you're right, it makes sense for a horror movie because we're trying to scare you. It's not just we're throwing this shit out here so you can be appalled at it and then go back to people shooting everything up or something, whatever shit.
Yeah. No, It makes sense, especially in the like I said, in this context. Like the movie's about a child serial killer. So you gotta just gotta take what comes with that. You know what I'm saying? When you're seeing that when that's the focal point of what the movie is. And I gotta say, just like Ethan Hawke was the star of the first movie, he is very much a star of this one. Although I will manage people's expectations. He's in this movie a lot less.
Okay.
That would say because I had a good time with this, but if I had like one real complaint just about the pacing of this movie and how it was going, the first act really it kind of slowed down. You know what I'm saying? It took its time really setting up. And I like some of the things it was setting up, like really shows you the after effects of Finn, now that it's 4 years later after being kidnapped. They show you a lot of the after effects of some of the trauma he's dealing with and the ways he's coping with it. They show you very early on in this movie, like, hey, Finn is messed up in the head. And obviously after, you know what I'm saying, after that experience, like he's fucked up for real. So
They got this
I
little nigga in therapy or some shit.
I mean, if by therapy you mean rolling up every 5 seconds, then sure. But like not no real shit.
I mean,
Nothing that's a
self-medication
permanent
is
solution.
a terrible idea, but you know what?
Y-
Whatever.
Hey,
That's
well
not my
that
business.
yeah, self medication, rolling up and beating the shit out of his classmates. That's really how you're
Yeah,
introduced.
little white boy.
Yeah, that's how you introduce the Finn in
White
this
on
movie.
white violence.
I don't hey, that white on white violence. It was great. It was funny how like he said it started too. Like after he beats the kid up, Gwen walks up to him. She's like, like, how did that one start? He's like, yeah, same old. Some dude walked up to me, said, "Oh, you're the badass that killed the serial killer. Oh yeah, you don't look like you that tough." It's like, come on, bro.
My thing is, bro, you know this nigga got a body on him,
A serial killer body.
and he walking free, and you don't, and you trying to like that shit don't
That
even
almost
make
made it
sense,
unbelievable.
bro.
Like it almost didn't sound believable. I'm like, all right, y'all expect me to
But
believe that this is
something,
like the seventh time that's happened to him? Like,
yeah,
come
and
on, bro.
he keep beating y'all asses, and y'all keep trying to,
Y'all keep
bro.
trying. Like, nah, bro.
That's
Stop
another
playing with me.
thing that, like, Imma say predominantly white shows, like, the way that they portray, like, school and the bullies in these shows, man, I'm like, I've never seen any of this shit, man. Like, it maybe it's just my school, but when they talk about, like, "Oh, yeah, the jocks are beating up the fucking art kids," and, like, I was in school with art kids, athletes, first drug dealers, everybody got along. Like, you got people that you don't like each other, but the way that movies and TV shows make bullies seem is unreal.
Yeah, it was OD and over the top. And this one, I mean, this one doesn't even really get into that point because like Finn gets him up out of there real quick. It wasn't really like
They don't get a chance to bully.
yeah, like the bully really he got humble very quick. It wasn't ongoing at all for real in this one. And that was all cool, right? Like I was cool with seeing the after effects of Finn dealing with the events of the first one because Finn dealt with a lot in the first one. He went through some shit obviously. And then going into this, it really felt like while that was good development for a character like Finney to kind of zone in and you really get to see more of how his family is together as a unit, you get to see the after effects of, how Finney is coping with the situations he dealt with in the first movie. But it really drags and takes a while before it gets to a point where the grabber is like a key character, like actually on screen a lot and the point where the movie starts to pick up and have like an even pace that keeps you engaged the entire time. So if I have one real main complaint, it really just be the pacing of the first act. The first act is for sure the weakest part of this whole operation. Once you get into the camp, though, like once because it's really just Gwen and her brother, and Gwen has like this dude that likes her that went along with them, but he's just kind of there.
Wait, why are they at this camp?
I'm trying to find a way. So the best I'll say without like spoiling shit is basically, like I said, Gwen has these dreams,
You know what? No,
and
I
so
I'm putting it together now because the mom was
yeah.
at the camp, and
Yeah, her
I got
mom
a
used
little
to
bit
be at
of
the
all
camp.
right.
Gwen is having dreams about the camp, and her mom is communicating with her, so you can kinda piece together what's happening here.
Now, do they go to they're going to the camp after the grabber shows up again,
So remember the grabber's dead.
or whatever
Finn
the new
killed the
thing?
grabber in the first movies. This is like so they don't really explain exactly, like, the lore behind why these in the first movie, why the dead kids were communicating through that phone to Finney. So they don't really explain the lore behind it too much. They kinda do, like, basically, like, their spirits aren't at rest, so they're, like, still lingering around at the scene of the crime is kinda how they explain it. So in this movie, the grabber is kinda using a similar tactic to
Okay.
kinda stay around, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's using the kinda similar, I guess, supernatural force or whatever it is causing them to be able to do this, that he's able to kind of come in, specifically within the dreams as well, and kind of haunt mainly Finney's sister. Gwen, like I said, Gwen is more the main character in this than Finn
Okay.
is. Like, like he's a key part in it, obviously, because he was the main character in the first movie. But this is really more Gwen's story than his. She's really more the focus because a lot of what you find out about the plot in this is from her point of view. You know what I'm saying? So everything from the details you learn about Finn's family, because you get more context into their family, like through her dreams too, which is more than what you had in the first movie. Between the kind of like the crime scene she has to piece together of why the grabber was at this camp in the first place, and you know what I'm saying, what happened to those three kids. So you kind of see what happens to them, but then you don't really see, you know what I'm saying, where the grabber did with them or what's going on, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of piecing together that kind of comes along with the Gwen, you know what I'm saying, and her dreams and figuring out what's going on with the grabber and why he's being able to stick around like this. So when you get to that second act, there comes a point where Gwen is repeatedly having these visions and she's constantly, you know what I'm saying, kind of she's like really battling internally because she's really going crazy a lot. Like
Yeah.
she's walking, she's doing a lot of things that you see the outwardly, like the people around the camp are, you know, really trying to help her a lot because she just really doesn't have it together, honestly. Once you get into that second act, you see her like slowly starting to go a little bit more crazy and she starts losing herself a lot more because the dreams start to get a lot more intense and the grabber starts to show himself a lot more. And that's when you start getting into the Freddy Krueger, Nightmare
Mhm.
on Elm Street elements of this, which this movie does pretty well. They do it okay, but I don't think that they do it in a way that's any different than what you've seen before in some of those other horror movies, honestly. And that was really another thing with this when they get into the camp. Like, they kind of piece it together with the dream sequences and, like I said, the black phone that's randomly in the middle of the camp. And while Gwen is dealing with the dream side of interacting with the grabber, and he's the one actually trying to harm her, Finney is talking to him through this payphone now. And that's when Finney kind of starts piecing together what's going on and what his sister's visions really are. And then also interacting with the three victims as well and trying to piece together. And there's one thing I will say that was a little bit of an inconsistency now that I'm thinking about it. Cause the one thing about horror movies that I like, or really any supernatural movie, honestly, like any movie that deals with fantasy elements or sci-fi, you can set your rules, but then stay consistent with whatever rules you set about whatever this universe is and don't try to break out of that. This movie tries to set up basically that the black phone or the payphone that's in the middle of this camp, the reason the grabber is able to access that is because the spirits of these boys aren't at rest. Like that's how he's able to kind of stay around and his spirit's able to torment people in this area. But you see examples of Finney like grabbing phone. This is well before they get to the camp, like picking up the phone in other areas and answering it and saying like, I can't help you, I can't help you. And then he says the same thing to those three boys when he talks to them in the at the camp. So it kind of pieces together that's who he was referring to. I wasn't really feeling that part of it because it kind of felt like you were being inconsistent with your own rules a little bit. But that's just me being nitpicky, honestly. The rest of this movie, I thought, kind of knocked it out the park, honestly. Gwen's performance was amazing. Her character was amazing. I thought Finn did a really good job. And then Ethan Hawke is really like the star of the show, even though his character is like very deranged and you like actively just want terrible things to happen to him just because of the way, like, bro, he's doing these kids gruesome. Like, it's bad. Like, I was like, damn, it's kind of crazy that like you low key showing this. So like you really want him to get up out of there for real. But I think Ethan Hawke's performance makes it so that you're always engaged when that character is on screen. You always are locked in with him because he has like a sort of like a charismatic way of delivering his dialogue and the way he speaks. Like it is kind of similar to, I hate to keep making the comparison, but there's a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger like signs and tropes in this movie. And some of them, I'm not saying that as a way like it's ripping that movie off, even though in a sense it kind of is. It's more so just taking elements from that. At least that's how I viewed it, and putting that into, because the character was kind of already like that a little bit in the first movie, and I think they kind of just amped it up a little bit with this now that he's dead. And a key part of his motivations in this was really getting back at Finney, which is a big reason why he's tormenting his sister like this. So yeah, I would say while this isn't as good as the first one, I do want to preface by saying that I don't think this is as good as the first one. I think this is one of those situations with horror sequels where usually they feel like cash grabs. Usually they don't really feel like something that can be on par with the first one. This is one of those rare situations where I think a horror sequel actually did what it was supposed to do and like actually tried to put a little bit more thought into what you're putting on screen and the type of story you're telling so that you're not just putting it out there just for the sake of, oh, the first one made money, so we're just going to do this now without really putting thought into what kind of story you're trying to tell or what you're trying to push to the audience. Because I actually really think in this one that there was a lot of thought put into not just the progression of Ethan Hawke as the grabber, but all right, now we're going to switch up the story and actually try to tell it from the sister's perspective because it makes sense now given where, the villain of the franchise is. The villain's dead. So we need a way for him to still be able to interact and still be able to, cause his reign of terror, so to speak. And I think switching it over to Gwen was a very smart way to do that. This movie kept you suspense the entire time. It took kind of like the serial killer thriller element of the first movie and amped it up with more of a horror vibe in this. And I got to give Scott Derrickson some credit with actually giving us a solid 1-2 horror franchise,
Is
honestly,
that the
because we
director
yeah, Scott
or the
Derrickson,
writer? Okay.
that was the director. Like this is kind of in like the vein of like a not as good as The Conjuring 2 or like Insidious 2. I don't think it's as good as those movies, but I do think this is one of those situations where like a horror sequel actually like kind of lived up to the hype a little bit. Like I said, not as good as the first movie, but this actually I didn't leave the theater disappointed after watching this, honestly. And I know you're not really a horror guy. I know that's not your thing, but I will say the first movie is more of like a serial killer thriller, more so than like a horror movie. This is more like a traditional horror movie to me.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
first one I think has more thriller vibes with like some horror elements in it, but I wouldn't call it like a straight up horror movie. If it is something you was ever interested in, but I don't know.
I'm looking at the cast now though, just seeing who was in it. I didn't the main or Finn, he was a How to Train Your Dragon, but their
Yep.
dad is I thought he was originally I thought he was British, but he was in a show called Justified that
I
is,
haven't seen that one.
fucking
Yeah.
I'll just put it like this. It's on FX. So
Yeah, no, I know what show you're talking about,
Okay,
but
FX just puts out masterpieces, the TV show. So no, but like I'm looking at the cast, and it looks like Ethan Hawke is probably the biggest actor. It's not even
in
a
the
probably;
cast,
he's
yeah.
definitely the
Yeah, he
biggest
definitely
actor,
is. Yeah.
and
It's his show.
that's something else that you really don't see anymore with horror movies. Like you usually have a couple of big name actors, and then there's some smaller actors. Like I said, Finn, he's in How to Train Your Dragon. But again, nobody still really knows who he is like that. But like I said, the dude that was in Justified, he's on there again. Another, I guess he's known for things, but like I said, I was able to spot him, point him out, but not really. It's another actor that's in his cast, and I want to say he was in, if I got my actors correct, he was on an HBO show, Generation Kill. Again, Generation Kill was not a big show. It was, I'm pretty sure the same people that produced Band of Brothers. I don't know if you ever seen that.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Band of Brothers, they put that out. I'm pretty sure they put that out too. But again, he's somebody that is not a big name actor, but I guess he got a few horror things on here. He was in It Chapter 2, Sinister, and Sinister 2. Is Sinister in the Insidious universe?
No, no, Sinister is something totally different.
Okay,
Another good, well, no, I'm starting to remember Sinister 2 now. A good first movie, a very good first movie. And then that, remember I was saying horror sequels be cash grabs? That's one of them situations. It's one of those situations for
and
sure.
that's you. Like I said, it's usually hard for them to make good sequels to horror movies because generally the thing that they're fighting is dead at the end
Yeah,
of the movie. So like it's really hard to be like, okay, let's find a reason to bring this thing back. Like I said, I mean, I really don't see how they did so many Freddy Kruegers and so many
yeah.
Jasons and Michael Myers and like, yo,
One thing I love, I've noticed about black people is we never say the actual title of a horror movie. We'll just say the name
okay,
of what the
Friday
horror is.
13th, nigga.
I've just noticed only we do that though, and I fuck with it so much.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was called Freddy Krueger for the
Bro, I
longest.
swear to God, I
What
did
is it?
until I started locking in as a
Halloween.
movie fan, I did not know that Friday the 13th was called Friday the 13th. That was Jason.
I
I did
think
not know Nightmare on Elm Street was called Nightmare on Elm Street. That was Freddy Krueger. I swear to God.
I thought is Jason the no? What's Jason? Jason is Halloween.
No, Michael Myers is Halloween.
What is Jason?
That's Friday the 13th.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm tripping.
Yes.
I'm thinking about
Yeah.
dog. See,
And then niggas don't say Child's Play, we say Chucky.
It's Chucky. Well,
Bro,
they
I
in
swear
our
for like
defense,
the first 10 years of my life, that movie was Chucky.
there is a Chucky movie.
Now there is.
Leprechaun.
I I didn't go that deep into the horror films to see Leprechaun, but that is one
You've
situation.
never seen Leprechaun?
I've never seen Leprechaun.
Bro,
No.
I've seen Leprechaun in the Hood. You gotta watch Leprechaun in the Hood, bro.
All
You
right,
gotta
that now
watch
that I'll
Leprechaun in the
watch.
Hood.
That I'll watch. I ain't gonna lie. That'll get thrown on the
'Cause
watch list for sure.
that one was kind of like I said, I'm not a horror fan. I've always not been a horror fan, but like somehow I always have been forced to watch horror movies in situations.
Mhm.
But that shit is it's hilarious, dog. And let's say this, Chucky is I don't consider Chucky a horror movie. It probably is, but it's not. Chucky's very comedic as well. So I think that kind of like
I mean, so is Freddy Krueger. So that can be like an element to, who the horror villain is, and it still be a horror movie.
I
But no, I
think
get what you mean with Chucky though, because
yeah,
it's
I
like
think
he
personally
was a
for me,
doll.
it's the whole dream thing.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
somebody that has nightmares and what's the sleep paralysis at times?
Oh yeah, no, it would
I'm
get bad.
good.
Yeah,
Freddy Krueger
this
is something I do not need to be watching.
yeah, well, I definitely wouldn't recommend you watch the second one then. For Black Phone. This definitely would not be
Yeah, I
up
was
your alley.
reading. I got some questions for you after we finish because I was just reading. Like you didn't tell me that mama was dead. Though. Did she die in the first one?
No. Well, she is. Well, okay. She is. You do know she's dead. I'll say that.
Okay.
You do know she's dead. That part's not a spoiler. But you do know that they don't have their mom because
Okay.
that was already set up.
All right, I'll say the rest of my questions then because I'm
Yeah,
getting way
yeah. Say
too.
the rest of the questions. Say the rest of the questions. No. I had to think about that for a minute. So yeah, no. You do have that knowledge. And that is because their dad is like really alcoholic at this point.
I seen
Because
that.
yeah, dealing with that, and then your son get kidnapped by a serial killer. Dad dealing with a lot. So the dad was really and there's a part in this film where he like tells Finney like, I've been clean for however long and I'm working on it and yada yada. And I ain't gonna lie, there's kind of a sense in their conversation that like the dad's kind of scared of Finney a little bit. Like not on some like, oh, my son's a menace, but like my son killed a serial killer. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't like outwardly show it in any way, but you can tell subtly in that interaction. I'm like, he low-key don't want no smoke with his own son. And I'm starting to peep that.
Take out the trash, nigga. You take out the trash.
I was like, he low-key
Hey,
no smoke.
was it a Kevin Hart stand up where he was like his dad? I think he was just telling a joke. It's like somebody daddy get beat up, and he's just like he tells take out the trash. He's like, you take out the trash before I call Larry.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. No, it was definitely them type of vibes for sure. It was definitely that. Honestly, I was really thinking about like when I was watching this, I was like, I don't really know exactly where I stand on like this in like the horror sequel like list. Like if I were to start ranking horror sequels, like I know it's not as good as like a Conjuring 2 or Insidious 2 because I actually like think those are really high quality horror sequels. But this is something that like I think is good enough for people to go out in theaters to see. I definitely would recommend like people go see this while it's out. But just if you did see the first one, if you're a fan of the first one, don't expect that movie. This is definitely something very different. Like, don't go thinking it has to be on the same level as that because it's not. And mainly because of that first act, because it takes so long to get going and get to the point, really. But once you do, I think it's well worth it. And like I said, Ethan Hawke delivers a great performance again in this one, similar to what he did in the first. I don't want to get her name wrong. Madeline McGraw, who plays Gwen, for this to be, I would say, one of her first films where she's like the main focus, her actually being the central focus of something that's like a major Hollywood production. I got to give her credit that she held her own in this one. I'm not gonna lie. And Finney did well too, but I'm not gonna say he takes more of a back seat in this, but like I said, he's not the focal point. So he's still a key and important character to pushing the story forward, especially because he's the main one on the phone communicating with the grabber. But he's not, the film isn't necessarily revolving him like it is in this first, or like it was in the first one. So he's not being asked to do as much, honestly. But there's a lot of emotional weight scenes for real, especially in the first act. I guess that's really my problem with Finney is a lot of his best scenes come in the first act of the movie, and to me the first act of the movie is the worst part. So they, you know what I'm saying, they kind of did him both a little bit with that, I ain't gonna lie. But we have revealed a new rating system.
So before you get your rating, before you get a rating, I do want to say this. I know why you said it, that, you think this is a good movie to go to the movies and see.
Yeah.
Because the same reason people should still go see one battle after another, if people aren't paying to see these movies in the theaters, they kind of stop producing these movies to the quality that you would like them to.
Yeah.
But to that, I mentioned that because I want to say, as someone that doesn't watch horror movies a lot often, I think the best way to actually watch a horror movie is at the crib though. In the crib,
I would
in the
agree with
living
that.
room, lights
Yeah.
off.
I
If
would
you
I would
if
agree
you
with that.
somebody that likes to scare yourself, that's the best. And don't
Yeah.
let you live alone.
Man, what? Yeah, no, that's the thing for me with horror, honestly, like as a genre, because I agree with you. Like, we should go out and support horror films, like especially good original stories, like especially like something like Black Phone One. Is like when that made money, I was happy. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, this ain't a Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. This ain't Conjuring Five. Like, this is an original horror, very good horror story. Like, we need more of that. And then of course it gets a sequel anyway. But like with specifically the horror genre, like I feel like I agree with you. It's more effective in what it's trying to do watching it from home than going to the theater, which is it's kind of weighing your options there at this point on what you want your experience to be, honestly, as a viewer and as an audience member. But I still think there's some horror movies that can hit in the theater. But like I said, like you said, it's gonna hit a lot better at home every time. Like there's really no recreating that experience. Honestly, even if you got the theater by yourself, there's really no,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not gonna hit the same.
I don't know if you sitting in the theater and you at the complete front of the theater.
The neck break seats is crazy, man. Yeah, now that would be kind of crazy. So, was there anything you wanted to comment on the new rating system before I give my rating, or you good?
No, no.
No. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a silver. I think this was solid. I think this was something that kind of met my hype. Like when I first saw the trailer of this, I was like, boom, we're getting a sequel to it. At first I thought it was unnecessary, but I saw the trailer, I was like, you know what? I kind of see what they're going for, even though it feels like we're leaning into a lot of like they basically done turned this dude into Freddy Krueger now. I'm willing to give it a shot. Just off the strength of how much I enjoyed the first one. And Ethan Hawke looked like he was about to give another good performance. So I gave it a shot. And it met the hype that I started to build, I'll say for myself going into this. It met that. And I'll give this movie that and say that performance-wise, it was very strong. Story-wise, it takes a while to get going, especially like all through that first act. But once you get into the actual campsite, and they get there with Finn, her or Gwen, and then whoever the other little dude was that liked her. And then there are like camp counselors that are already there, but they're not really important characters like that, except for maybe one one of the camp counselors essentially was up there, without giving too much away, he was up there because he was still trying to search for like the missing boys, basically. Like that's what he was still up there for. Like he made a promise to the parents, and this because they were never found, they were still trying to like find their bodies. So
Where
that's
does this take place at? Do
that
they
where the camp takes place is
No, like the movie, like the region.
I mean, it definitely has like small town vibes. I don't remember the exact town exactly, but it has like similar vibes to like Weapons, maybe like a town like that, like a smaller town type vibe.
So I asked this because why you not searching in the summer? Like, why would you like? I just can't like. Let's say I go missing in the middle of the night. Like
Well,
my
also
car
like
runs
this
off the
camp is
road.
like out the way too.
Yeah.
So, but
So
still, to your point.
that's my point. Like if I go
Yeah.
missing, my car go off the side of the road in a forest, and it's a blizzard outside. It's very difficult for people to search for me. And that's like moments after it's happened. And you
Yeah.
looking for bodies however many years in the past in the middle of winter.
You got a point there.
But again, we said this before, the plot says
The
it.
plot
So,
says so. I mean, like, it's a lot of things I can
there's a
pick
lot
apart.
of things that needed to happen.
Like
So
why is Finn answering a payphone around the corner from a 7-Eleven and being able to talk to a ghost? You know what I'm saying? Like,
who just randomly answers itself? Nigga, were you waiting on somebody to call you? Like
it was like that was kind of where it got a little goofy to me. It was like, oh, wait, hold on, because I'm trying to. So
does he have a
basically,
cell phone?
he does. Did Finn have a cell phone in this? Yeah, he did.
Nigga, so Nick got a cell phone and walked past a random ringing phone outside and was like, you know what? I'm gonna answer that.
I guess that was their way of hinting at he's still talking to someone through the phone, I guess,
Okay,
but
okay.
you
We're
don't
just
really
guessing though.
find. Yeah, at that point in the film is the first act, so you
Yeah.
don't really know yet until later on who he was talking to. But even then, like I said, the movie sets up the rules. That's why I was like, just set up your rules of engagement and let me follow it. And I'll suspend my disbelief up to the point where you
Right.
set your rules of engagement from, right? So you set your rules of engagement at the reason the grabber is still around, even though he's dead, is because his spirit is hanging around with the spirits of these tormented children who he killed in the distant past. So to me, that says like he should be confined to basically this camp, and whatever's happening should be confined to this camp, not them being able to reach out to you. Because Gwen talking to spirits is different. She's dreaming.
Right.
Like, you answer the phone in real life. So that was like that was kinda where I was drawing the line a little bit as far as, like, suspending my disbelief, but at that point, like I said, I'm nitpicking because the rest of this movie I thought was very effective. It did what it had to do. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with a silver on this one. If you have not seen the first one, I'm not gonna lie, I highly recommend y'all do, because when I told people I was seeing Black Phone 2, a lot of people were like, "I never even saw Black Phone 1." So do yourself a favor, if you haven't seen the first one and you are into horror or thriller or, like, suspense in any kind of way, the first one is something you should definitely check out. This is also a solid film, and for a horror sequel is actually very good because I feel like that's not, something that you usually get high quality movies out of with horror sequels usually. I think this one actually is one that is definitely worth checking out and one that people should go see, at least in theaters. If not, wait for it to come out, but definitely at least check this one out at some point. So, Vito, you got anything else before we close it out? Any other thoughts?
Outside of the only thing I can think of is Welcome to Dairy starts streaming on the 26th. I don't know if it's streaming or if it's on TV, but October
Mhm.
26th that starts streaming. And like I said, we were just talking about watching horror things in the home. That's going to be a horror TV show. But again, we all know that TV shows are not going to be as scary or suspenseful as a movie would be.
You'd be surprised. I'll just say that you'd be surprised. Yeah. For those of you who've seen Haunting a Hill House, you know some TV shows that can get like that.
Never even heard of it.
It it went a little underrated, or I'll say under the radar. Like, it was a product of its time. Like, if you caught it while it was hot, you did, but I don't think it had like staying power or like became something that people went back to a lot. But yeah, if you're looking for a horror show that'll give you like something similar to movie quality, yeah, that would be one I'll recommend. That was our what you watching for Black Phone 2. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you've seen it, definitely, what I'm saying, let us know how you felt about it. Do you think it holds up to the first one? Me personally, I'm going to give that one a no. But if you do think it holds up to the first one, let me know. We can have that discourse. Always continue to like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate all support. And until next time, this is the Real Junkies. Peace.